so I'm going to take you through chord by chord how I came up with the song that I played in the beginning of the video. It started with this first chord right here. I like the way it sounded. There's no rules about how you begin necessarily. I just like the way that chord sounded, and I just started playing it when I was noodling around. Now, how did I come up with the second chord? Well, again, I was just noodling around, you know, and I just liked the way that chord sounded, and I was listening, taking time to listen to how the notes go together. So chord searching, it involves careful listening about what you're doing and what you want and how to get to what you want. So just third chord. How did I get to the third chord? It was just careful listening and experimenting. What else could I have done for the third chord? Well, I could have went here. First chord, second chord, that chord right there is technically in the same key, but it doesn't really sound right. So just because something is in the same key doesn't mean it's necessarily right for what you were doing. So after feeling around and experimenting, this chord is what I settled on. Now, how did I get to the fourth chord? All I did for the fourth chord was add this top note to the third chord. Right here, G string, at 9th fret on the G string. So sometimes finding chords doesn't require drastic changes. Sometimes all you need to do is add 1 or 2 notes to an existing chord. So let me show you what we have so far. Third chord, fourth chord. One more time. Now, what else could I have done for the fourth chord? Let me show you some alternatives. Okay. Second chord, third chord. I didn't like that for the fourth chord. Let me give you another example of something I could have done for the fourth chord. I didn't like that one either. So what I settled on was just adding 1 note to the third chord. Now that's the first measure. In the second measure, I use in the second measure, the first 2 chords are the same, but the third chord and the fourth chord are different. In the third chord, I use a dissonant note. Those are notes that are outside the key, and those notes are good for creating tension in your music. It makes your music a little more interesting. The important thing to remember is that when you use dissonant notes, you have to resolve them. And I'll give you an example of how I resolve dissonant notes. Okay, so first chord. Let me play the second measure for you first, so you know what it sounds like. Okay, so the third chord. So the reason I chose the third chord was because, again, I thought that added a little bit of tension to the song. You can find dissonant notes by just looking at the key that you're examining, the key that you're playing in, and looking for notes that are outside the key. But again, the important thing is, what are you doing with the dissonant note after you play that note? It has to be resolved right. Generally, it has to be resolved right if you want it to sound good. And so, what could I have used for a fourth chord instead of what I did? How else could I have resolved the third chord? How else could I have resolved it? Well, I could have used some other notes, chords that didn't work quite so good. Okay, so first chord. There's that G power chord again. That G power chord, it's in the same key, but it doesn't work very good to resolve the dissonant note in that third chord. So what I chose was, why I chose the fourth chord was because the root note of the fourth chord was one fret higher than the dissonant note. And when you resolve dissonant notes, it tends to work good if you resolve them 1/2 step. And on the guitar, a 1/2 step is just 1 fret. Okay, so here's a dissonant note. 1 fret, okay? So the fourth chord root note is 1 fret higher than the dissonant note. Let me show you the context again. First chord. Third chord. Fourth chord. Okay, what I want to do now is show you one more melodic idea, and this has to do with what we were talking about in the first video, melody expansion. Now, instead of playing the fourth chord, I'm going to replace the fourth chord with a couple of notes that are in the same key. And I found these two notes by experimenting, and I thought they sounded great for what I was doing. And the two notes I'm adding are on the G string, it's the 10th fret, and I'm just playing the open E after that. So, let me show you how that works, okay? Okay, I want to play it in context. Again, replacing the fourth chord with those two notes, that goes back to the primer video, the primer video and video 1. We're talking about melody expansion. And in melody expansion, it's just replacing beats in the song with other notes and chords. So instead of playing the fourth chord, instead of playing 4 beats on the fourth chord, we're playing 4 beats on these single notes. one more time. Have it. If you have any questions, message me, and I hope you got a lot out of that video.